we are now T-minus less than a week from the NBA trade deadline.
Yeah.
Suns are on the clock. Suns are in need of certain things. Where would you direct your attention and your resources and assets at the trade deadline? Because we know what Bob Myers had to say right off the top of the halftime show on ABC the other night, the win against the Nets. And here's what the longtime Golden State general manager had to say.
Does Phoenix need a game manager? Do they have to establish some kind of order here? And how are they going to do it?
Who does it?
Well, that's the question. Because this team is great, super talented, but Beal gets 4 shots. He's got 4 points. So that's the question, right? Do they need somebody to orchestrate?
And it was unanimous. It was a consensus on the panel. Big Perk said, you know what? He argued the opposite against Richard Jefferson earlier in the year, and Perk admitted he's wrong. The Suns need a point guard. Then Michael Wilbon jumped in.
A classic, traditional point guard. Of course, they gave up one, and I understand why they did that with Chris Paul, but they need somebody to organize them now.
With the exception of the Nets game, Ron Wolfley, you've seen every moment of every game.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Will you shut up about the Nets game? I DVR'd it, Paul. All right?
I don't blame you.
Yes, I watched it.
It was unwatchable from the Nets.
I did not see the tribute to
honestly,
KD.
since you didn't see the tribute to KD, here it is, Wolf.
Kevin Durant, easy money, baby.
He reaches the 25,000-point plateau.
Kevin Durant is one of the 75 greatest players in NBA history.
Okay, thank you very much.
You did see it?
Yeah, no, thank you. I did watch it later. Yes, I missed it live. I watched it later, Mel. Thank you. Right now, though, you know what? It's not listening to these talking heads nationally. It's talking to John Bloom, Basinonians. It's talking to Tom Chambers, the legend. Tom Chambers. You just can't say Tom Chambers. You have to say the legend, Tom Chambers. One of my favorites. And it's listening to these guys, Eddie Johnson, it's EJ, listening to these guys and what they have said about the Phoenix Suns this year and what their take is in regard to a point guard going forward for the Phoenix Suns. And that, to me, that carries a lot of weight, Paul. When I hear a Tom Chambers, a John Bloom, I hear them acknowledge the fact they think that is something that the Phoenix Suns are going to go out and try to acquire at the trade deadline. When they acknowledge the fact that there is a need, and that might be it, that tells me an awful lot.
I mean, when John Bloom puts point guard ahead of punting, I mean, that says it all.
Exactly.
We know the reverence with which John Bloom holds the art of punting. So here's Bloomer yesterday. We talked to him from the mean streets of New York.
I think that it is vital to have that position filled for a team to be successful.
Yeah.
Can Devin Booker be that guy? Can Bradley Beal and Devin Booker combine to be that guy? I still have to see it. I still need that to be proven, but I'm not saying it can't happen.
See, and that right there is, once again, I think we'd all say the exact same thing. There's a possibility they don't need to address the point guard. There is a possibility that they could just look at a large athletic wing, bring in a wing player, 3-and-D guy. That's a guy. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they do both. I don't know. What I do know is this right here. The big three right now, the sample size is not big enough for me to make a conclusion one way or the other on this. But if you have any doubt, don't you have to pull the trigger on that, Paul? If James Jones is like, well, let's see if the big three, can they get it done? Maybe they need 10, 15 more games. Well, guess what? Here it comes. February 8th, Basinonians. The trade deadline is looming. It's in 6 days, Paul. Right now, if you've got any doubt whatsoever and you're James Jones, you're going to pull the trigger on a point guard, aren't you?
And make no mistake about it. There are point guards that are available. I'm looking at a report right now from an hour ago, Sports Illustrated. The T-Wolves are actively looking for a point guard. Someone along the lines of a Tyus Jones, a Monty Morris, a Bones Highland, a Colin Sexton. So these are guys that potentially could be had. To your point, You'd love to have some more time to assess the big three.
Yes.
And I'd be especially intrigued by, since Bradley Beal seems to be the guy on the outside looking in, and how do you maximize Bradley Beal? I'd love to see. He's got a great handle. Could he handle more of the point guard? That is something that you'd love to have more time to assess. You don't have that. But if you're trying to diagnose...
And is he okay doing that?
True.
Once again,
Yep.
right?
No, you're right.
That's what it all comes down to as well, these personalities.
If you're trying to diagnose the fact the Suns have the worst point differential in the NBA in the fourth quarter, the fourth quarter woes.
The turnovers in the fourth quarter as well.
Thank you. That's all a big part of it. So why is that? Because, I don't know, games in the NBA are still historically won in the fourth quarter. Teams ratchet up the intensity, especially the defensive intensity, and that's where the Suns all of a sudden are prone to those turnovers. Well, guess what happens in the postseason, Ron Wolfley? All four quarters resemble the fourth quarter of an NBA regular season game.
Yes.
So are you staring down the barrel of a really big problem come the postseason when all of a sudden those playoff games could resemble the fourth quarter of these regular season games because you're not equipped to initiate an offense, get the ball down the floor against traps and full court pressure? That, to me, is a big question the Suns have to answer.
Yeah, no, you're right, Paulie. Listen, again, I keep talking about this. The trade deadline, the deadline, and some players they might actually acquire for the deadline. And hey, listen, I understand that's great. But the biggest change and the best change this team could embrace going forward, in my opinion, is to tap into the rage tree and be capable of doing it. Their intensity level has been soft in the fourth quarter from time to time. You can see it. It's been soft. It's not been where it needs to be in certain games. That's why tonight's game is really important to me. It really is. Because here it is. It's the Atlanta Hawks, ladies and gentlemen. 5-5 in their last 10. Yeah, they won their last 2 right now. They're the 10 seed currently in the Eastern Conference. But this is a team the Suns should build. This is a team the Suns should beat. And because of that, I want to see their intensity level and where it is. Because they should beat this team. Is it a let's be patient approach? Is it that again? Or is it going to be an intensity level that they need to generate? What is it going to look like tonight? Can't wait to see it.
So the Calvisi Consulting Paulie Roundball formula 3-point plan. Here's one of my points to fix the Suns. Speaking of the trade deadline.
Okay.
Trade Eric Gordon.
Okay.
Now.
Trade Eric Gordon.
Sell high while he's hot. He's had a couple of great games. You have shooters on this team. You don't have a defensive stopper. You don't have a point guard. Seriously examine the trade market for Eric Gordon.
Yes, I think that's one of the situations where James Jones will be all over that. I think Grayson Allen also is something that the Suns are going to get a lot of phone calls on, and probably already have gotten a lot of phone calls on Grayson Allen. Would you really pull the trigger on Grayson Allen?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
One of those two. You can't afford both those guys right now if serious offers are coming in and you have needs elsewhere.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.